Alrighty. Camera lines in. And I'm just having around without the tree alone. Let's start. No, it's not you. I checked on my cord. Okay. There's all kinds of discombobulated with that going on. All right. We're in here. Hello, Hunter. How are you today?
Good.
Good. All righty. All right, let me get my screens going. Look at where we left off. Okay, put my copies back there. I was like, what did I do with my copies? After I've gone through all that. All right. So let's take a look at our homework. And I'm sorry, I did go ahead and add the places for the homework uploads from Monday and then today. I know that they were not there earlier. So those have been added. So if you haven't uploaded your homework yet, you can. Put this up real quick. Come on. Take its time. All righty, so let's see. Do we have anything that we needed to finish? Okay, so it looks like page 81, was that our first page of homework? Okay, so on page 81, we had the right-hand column. Ready and get all this. Okay, so the right-hand column, take this off so I can see for a minute. Okay, so the right-hand column, the first one we have, that's not right, 37. Wait a minute. Okay, so we were dividing and we talked about how when I divide fractions, we do keep, change, flip. We keep the first fraction, change our sign from division to multiplication, and then we flip or take the reciprocal of the next fraction. So the first one, we have 4/5 divided. I'm sorry?
Real quick. When I put my homework up, I put the last page. When I put my homework up, I put the last page first and the first page last on accident. So, just so you know.
Okay, that's okay. Not a problem. Thank you. Okay, so the first one, and directions say to divide and leave the fractions 5. And then below you would have 5/2 or 5/2. On the next one is 35/4. Then I have 1/4 and 5/3 or 5/3. Any of those that you missed that you would like me to work through? Everybody good with those? You there, Hunter? Okay, sorry, I lost you for a minute, or mine went out. Okay, so we'll start that again. So we're going to do the 2 addition and then the 2 subtraction. So at the top, my 2 addition, the first one is 41 over 15. Underneath that will be 5 over 2. Right-hand side, I'm sorry, doing multiplication, not addition, not subtraction. On the right-hand side, I have 10 over 3 and then 7 over 4. Moving down to the bottom, now we're doing subtraction. And the first one, I don't know why they made that. It's just weird because they made some of my font real tiny and some of it bigger. So is that the 11 over 4? Is that 11 over 4 minus 13 over 6? Okay. So the answer for that one is going to be 7 over 12. And then the one below that will be 3 over 10. Uh-huh.
It's not showing the math for some reason. I just see like that you are sharing screen.
Okay, hang on just a second. Here we go. There we go.
Yeah, now it's
okay. So I'll do those subtraction ones again. So the bottom 2 subtraction is 7/12, and then the one below that is 3/10. Now on the right-hand side for the division, the first one is 45 over 52, and then the last one is 13 over 12. Any of those that you had trouble with that you would like me to do? Or is everybody good? All right. So now we'll just keep on moving. And let's look at lesson 39. Lesson 39 is dealing with mixed numbers, okay? So when I talk about a mixed number, earlier we talked about improper fractions. So our answers were left as improper fractions, and we talked about how that means that the number in the numerator is larger than the number in the denominator, okay? We talked about how, to me, I always kind of think about it as an upside down triangle and how the bottom's kind of heavy. And oh, is that? So it's kind of like you're worried that it's going to be heavy and it can fall over, okay? So that's what I think about with an improper fraction. But my numerator is larger than my denominator. With a mixed number, I have got a whole number and a fraction, okay? So it says a mixed number is the result of adding a whole number and a fraction. So, you know, a lot of times when we see a number in front of another number, or we see like a number in front of a variable, we've talked about how that's multiplication. Well, when I'm dealing with a mixed number that's a fraction, I understand that if I could combine them, I would add them, okay? So like if I was looking at this number 2 1/4, that means that if I could, I would add the 2, it's 2 plus 1/4, okay? So let's go ahead, and it says, come on, there we go. A mixed number can be written as an improper one is to multiply the whole number by the denominator, and this gives us the new numerator, okay? I'm sorry, multiply the whole number by the denominator and then add this to the numerator to get the new numerator. So we're going to look at that in just a minute. Then step 2 is keep the denominator for the improper fraction the same as it is in the mixed number. So if we were to look at this number 2 1/4, if I've got 2 1/4, one of the things that I do when I'm working on these is I'll, step 1 said I'm going to multiply. Okay, so that means I multiply 4 times 2. And 4 times 2 equals 8. And then I'm going to add 8 plus my numerator, which is 8 plus 1 is 9. Okay, and then I keep my denominator. So multiply denominator by whole number, 4 times 2 is 8, then add 8 to 1, and that gives me 9. So it's 9/4. Okay, so that's what it's meaning that I'm going to do when I multiply and then add, and then keep the denominator. All right, so now we can see how we end up with 9/4. Now we're going to look at what we do to add mixed numbers. Now this on here is saying one thing, and I'm going to tell you something that also that you can do if you choose to, okay? So this says to add mixed numbers, add the whole numbers to get the new whole number, and then add the fractions to get the new fraction. So if I have 1 3/4 plus 2 3/4, then I would add 1 plus 2, and that gives me 3. And then I would add the 3 plus 3 is 6 and keep my denominator of 4. Then I'm going to need to simplify that 6 over 4. Okay. One of the things that you can also do, if you choose to, is to go ahead and write these as improper fractions. It's totally up to you what you choose to do. So you could just go ahead and write it as an improper fraction. So to get 1 3/4 is an improper fraction. 4 times 1 is 4, and 4 plus 3 is 7. So I have 7 over 4 plus, then my next one, 2 3/4. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 plus 3 is 11 over 4. Now 7 plus 11 is 18 over 4, and then I can change it to a mixed number. 4 will go into 18 4 times. That's going to be 16, and 18 minus 16 will be 2/4. So then I would reduce it to 4 1/2. So you can either fraction, and you can do it either way. The reason I was going to say convert to an improper fraction first is because that's what you have to do to subtract. So I was thinking if you just make it consistent, and if you have mixed numbers, either way, just convert it to an improper fraction and then either add or subtract. It depends on what you want to do, okay? But it can be done both ways. So in this situation, we have 5 3/4. So again, they multiplied. 4 times 5 is 20. And 20 plus 3 is 23. Keep my denominator of 4. Then here I'm multiplying 2 times 2 is 4. And then 4 plus 1 is 5. So I end up with 5 over 2. Is everybody comfortable with how to change an improper fraction, a mixed number to an improper fraction? This is probably something you've been doing for several years in math, but sometimes once you haven't worked with it in a while, it's you just have to go back and remember. Okay, so the first thing we did is we changed to improper fractions. Well, now we can see that we have got, now we have unlike denominators. So now our next step is going to be, I've got a 4 and a 2, and I have to find common denominators to be a denominator, something that can be used. And I can use my 4 because 4 divided by 4 is 1 and 4 divided by 2 is 2. So I know both of them will divide evenly into 4. So my first fraction, 23 over 4, gets to stay. But now I've got to change 5 halves to a denominator of 4. So I think about, what do I multiply 2 by to get to 4? 2. So if I multiply my denominator, I have to multiply my numerator, and 5 times 2 is 10. So now I've got a new problem. I kept my first fraction, but then I had to change my second fraction with a common denominator. So now I have 23 over 4 minus 10 over 4. When I subtract the numerators, keep my denominator, so now I'm 13 over 4. And again, once I have my improper fraction, I can change it to a mixed number. So to change an improper fraction to a mixed number, all I'm doing is dividing the denominator into the numerator, or dividing the numerator by the denominator. So 4 will go into 13 3 times. 3 times 4 is 12, and I subtract, and now I've got a remainder. So notice my 3, my whole number on the top, becomes my whole number in my answer. My remainder down here becomes my new numerator, and I keep the denominator. So all I do is divide. Whatever my remainder is becomes my new numerator. My whole number is my whole number. So again, it said fraction. So the first step is going to be to do what? What do I have to do first? What does it say step one is? I'm going to multiply. So I'm going to do 2 times 1. 2 times 1 is 2. And now what I'm going to add 2 plus 1 is what? 3. So my new numerator is 3. What is my denominator going to be? 2. Keep the denominator. Multiply denominator by whole number, then add that to the numerator. That's my new numerator. Keep the denominator. So let's look at the next one. I start by multiplying 5 times 2, and that's going to give me 10. Now I do 10 plus 2, and that's going to be what? 12. And then what will my denominator be? 5. Go ahead and do the next one on your own. Think about what you need to do. Look at the examples we've just done. So 8 times 4, 32 plus 3 is 35 over 8. Any questions on that? This is one of those things where we just have to remember it's steps in the process, and I just have to memorize. I have to remember what those steps are. Okay, multiply, then add. Now we're going to number. Remember that a fraction is just another example. It's just going to be division. All righty. So our first one is 5 over 2. Hang on just a minute. My screen's going to go out in a second. Sure. All righty. I think we're back up now. Okay, 5 over 2. So the first thing I'm going to do into 5. Now, of course, if you can do it in your head, that's just fine. You don't have to actually write it out, but I want you to be able to see how you can find it if you're not quite sure. When I divide 2 into 5, that'll go 2 times, and 2 times 2 is 4. When I subtract, I have a remainder of 1. So my whole number in my answer becomes number. So my quotient, remember the quotient is an answer to a division problem. So my quotient is the whole number. My remainder of 1 becomes my new numerator, and I keep my denominator. So 5 over 2 becomes 2.5. Same thing, 3 into 4. 3 will go into 4 one time. 1 times 3 is 3. Subtract, and I have a remainder of 1. So my whole number is 1. My remainder is 1. My denominator is 3. Go ahead and do the last one. Okay, how many times will 5 go into 9? 1 time. 1 times 5 is 5. When I subtract, I have a remainder of 4. So my whole number is 1. My remainder becomes my numerator, and I keep the denominator. All righty, so now what we're going to do is it says to add or subtract as indicated. All right, so like I said, you can do one of two things. Since we do have common denominators, we can add by using whole number plus fraction, or we can change to improper fractions. Either way. Actually, what I'll do is we'll go ahead and look at it both ways, so just so you can decide which one you want to do first. So we would take whole number 2 plus whole number 3 gives me 5, and then fraction 1/5 plus 2/5 is 3/5. So again, if I wanted to go ahead and change 2 1/5 to an improper fraction, I would end up with 11 over 5. So 5 times 2 is 10 plus 1 is 11 plus 3 2/5. 3 add up, 11 plus 16 is 27. If I will go 27 2 times. I messed up with, yep, that's a 17. Hold on. There we go. That's 28. So 5 will go into 28. Where did I, hold up. I got my equal sign. I was going, what is that minus? Okay, 5 will go into 28 2 times. 2 times, no, what am I doing? Okay, start over. 5 will go into 28 5 times. 5 times 5 is 25. So 28 minus 25 is 3/5. So either way, you're going to end up with the same answer, whatever you're comfortable with. The next one, I have 1 1/5 plus 4 2/5. 1 plus 4 is 5. 1/5 plus 2/5 is 3/5. Now, again, one of the things I always want to make sure is when I end up with a fraction answer, I want to make sure that I simplify it. I want to make sure it's in reduced form, okay? All right, so 6 7/8 minus 2 3/8. Let's go ahead and change these. So 8 times 6 is 48, and 48 plus 7 is going to give me 52 over 8. No, it's not. It's not 52. 55. No, come on. Oh my goodness. Okay, try that again. 6 times 8 is 48. 48 plus 7 is 55 over 8 minus 8 times 2 is 16. Whoops, put that in the wrong place. And 16 plus 3 is 19 over 8. So now I know my denominator is 8, and 55 minus 19, 55 minus 20 would be 35. So 55 minus 19 is going to give me 26. No, it's not. 36. What is my problem? I think I'm ready to go home. I am tired. 36 over 8. Now I'm going to say 8 will go into 36. How many times? 8 will go into 36 4 times. 4 times 8 is 32. I'm going to subtract. 36 minus 32 is 4. So I end up with 4 4/8. But like I said, I want to make sure that I put my fractions in simplest form, so I'm going to end up with 4 1/2. Okay, so if 4 4/8 is correct, but the simplest form is going to be 4 1/2. And then the last one. 8 times 7, 56. 56 plus 3 is 59 over 8 minus 2 times 3 is 6, and 6 plus 1 is 7. So now I have different denominators. I've got to find common denominators. I look to see if I can use one of the ones that I already have, and I can. I can use the 8. So 59 over 8 is going to stay the same. Now I'm going to go ahead and change my denominator of 2 to a denominator of 8, and to do that I multiply by 4. If I multiply the denominator by 4, I have to multiply my numerator by 4, and 7 times 4 is 28. When I subtract, I know my denominator stays the same. So now I have 59 minus 28. So 9 minus 8 is 1, and 5 minus 2 is 3. So I have 31 over 8. Now I can change from an improper fraction to a mixed number. So 8 will go into 31. That'll go for 3 times. 3 times 8 is 24. That becomes an 11 and a 2, and 11 minus 4 is 7. So we have 8 and no 3 and 7/8 would be our final answer. To change a mixed number to an improper fraction, multiply denominator by whole number, then add, keep your denominator. To go from improper fraction to mixed number, divide the numerator by the denominator. Your quotient is the whole number. The remainder becomes the numerator. Denominator stays the same. To add or subtract, adding, you can add whole number plus fraction and then simplify, or you can change to improper fractions, then add. With subtraction, go ahead and change to improper fractions and then subtract. So what we're going to do is let's go ahead, and I want you working on activities 2. I want you to change from improper fractions to mixed numbers, and from mixed numbers to improper fractions. So activities 2, page 85. All righty, let's go ahead and look at these. Going from improper fraction to mixed number. 5 divided by 2. 2 will go into 5 2 times. 2 times 2 is 4. 5 minus 4 is 1. So 2.5. 5/3. Again, 3 will go into 5 one time. I've got 2 as my remainder. Denominator is 3. If I do any of these and you're not sure how I'm doing it, or if you have questions, please be sure to ask, okay? Because in that situation, all I'm doing is 3 into 5. 3 will go into 5 one time. 1 times 3 is 3. 5 minus 3 is 2. So my 1 became my whole number. My remainder is my new numerator, and then I kept my denominator the same, okay? 9/4. 4 will go into 9 2 times. 2 times 4 is 8. So 9 minus 8 is 1. My denominator is 4. 17/5. Again, 5 will go into 17 3 times. That's going to give me 15. I've got a remainder of 2. So my whole number is 3. Numerator is 2. Denominator is 5. Any questions on those? Now let's go ahead and go from mixed numbers to improper fractions. I multiply. 5 times 3 is 15, and 15 plus 4 gives me 19/5. 8 times 2 is 16, and 16 plus 1 is 17. Keep my denominator of 8. 5 times 4 is 20, and 20 plus 2 is 22/5. 7 times 1 is 7, plus 2 is 9. Keep my denominator of 7. Any questions on those? Everybody okay with that? All righty. So now what we'll do is let's go ahead and let's work on let's do the top 3 with addition and subtraction. So the top 6 on the next page in activities 3. So activities 3, we're doing 3 addition problems and 3 subtraction problems. So go ahead and start working on those. Activities 3 on the next page. If you have questions, let me know. I'll be happy to help you. Okay, we'll go ahead and start with the addition side of it. And remember, we talked about how we can either change them to improper fractions and add. In this situation, we have all common denominators, so it's really not necessary. That would really kind of just be an extra step. So we can just add whole numbers and fractions. So 1 plus 2 is 3, and 3/5 plus 1/5 is 4/5. The next one, 3 1/3 plus 2 1/3. 3 plus 2 is 5, and 1 plus 1 is 2/3. Below that, 2 2/7 plus 5 4/7. 2 plus 5 is 7. And then my numerators, 2 plus 4 is 6. Keep my denominator of 7. Any questions about the addition side? Fraction. Now, one of the things, again, we could do this first problem that same way. We always just want to make sure that the first fraction is bigger than the second one, and then we can just subtract just like we just added. So I can say 7 minus 4 is 3, and 5 minus 1 is 4, so I end up with 3 4/8. Or I could go ahead and change, and 8 times 7 is 56, and 56 plus 5 is going to give me 61/8 minus 8 times 4 is 32. 32 plus 1 is 33/8. And then 61 minus 33, that'll be what I want. That's going to be 5. So I end up with 28. 8 will go into 28 3 times. 8 times 3, 24 gives me 4 over. I'll make that go away. There we go. Back to where I was. Now, either way, I've ended up with 3 4/8, but it can be simplified. It can be simplified because what is 4/8 equal to?
1/2.
Is 4 and 8 both divisible by? Yeah, they're both divisible by 2, so that would be 3 2/4. But that's still not simplified enough because then it can be divided by 2 again, and we end up with 3 1/2. So even if you don't see it the first time, looking at it and going, hey, they're both even, I can divide both by 2. But even at that point, when I divided by 2, I still got 2/4. They can still be divided by 2 again to get 1/2. 4 is half. Now, proper fractions, and 4 times 4 is 16. 16 plus 3 is 19/4 minus 2 times 2 is 4 plus 1 is 5/2. Now I've got to find my common denominators. I look to see, can I use either 4 or 2, and I can use 4, so I'm going to keep 19/4. But now I've got to change 5 halves to something with a denominator of 4. To get from 2 to 4, I multiply by 2, and 5 times 2 is 10. So now I have 19/4 minus 10/4. 19 minus 10 is 9/4.
8 times 2 is not 10.
Huh?
8 times 2 is not 10.
What did you say, Hunter?
8 times 2 is not 10. 8 times 2 is 16.
That's a 5. I'm sorry. Seems like my internet's struggling to stay connected. Okay, let's get back up. All righty. Here it comes. There we go. Okay, well, so we'll run back through this part real quick. So we started out by changing 4 and 3/4. We said 4 times 4 is 16. 16 plus 3 is 19. So we have 19 over 4. 2.5, we changed 2 times 2 is 4. 4 plus 1 is 5. And so now we have 19 over 4 times 5 and minus 5 halves. Stay the same because we're going to use 4 as our denominator. So to be able to change 5 halves into an equivalent fraction with a denominator and a numerator both by 2. So 5 times 2 is 10 and 2 times 2 is 4. So now I have 19 minus 10 is 9, and I keep my denominator of 4. 4 will go into 9 one time. 1 times 4, 9 minus 4 is 5. I didn't do it enough, did I? So anytime you end up with a fraction that is improper again, that means you didn't divide. So going back, 4 will go into 9. 2 times 4 is 8. Whoop. So I have 1/4. 2 and 1/4 is my final answer on that one. And then the last one, 3 times 3 is 9. 9 plus 2 is 11. Keep my denominator of 3. 6 times 1 is 6. Plus 1 is 7. Denominator is 6. I have unlike denominators. I need a common denominator. I look to see, can I use 3 or 6? And I can use 6. So that means my first one I have to change to a denominator of 6. To get from 3 to 6, I multiply by 2. That means I have to multiply my numerator by 2, and 11 times 2 is 22. So now I have 22 over 6 minus 7 over 6. I keep my denominator of 6, and then 22 minus 7 is going to give me 15. So I have 15 over 6. 6 will go into 15 2 times. 6 times 2 is 12. 15 minus 12 will give me 3. Denominator of 6. Again, I need to simplify, so that will be 2 and 1/2. Okay? So when you're adding and subtracting mixed numbers, find common denominators if you need to, and then be sure to simplify your solutions. So our first part of homework on this page will be in activities 3. We'll do the last 4 problems in activities 3. And then I also want you to do activities 4, okay, working to solve X. Remember that the first thing I'm going to do is if I need to combine like terms, if I need to distribute, remember that's what I'm looking at here when I have this 4 outside of parentheses. I'm going to have to distribute and multiply first. So in that situation, I would have 4 times 2x is going to give me 8x, and 4 times -1 is -4 equals 5x plus 14. Okay, remember I want to move all my x values to the left, all my numbers to the right. So if I take away 5x from each side, I have 3x minus 4 equals 14. My goal is to isolate x, to get x by itself. So now I add 4 to each side, and 3x is equal to 18. Divide by 3, x is equal to 6. Okay, so just remember, if you have anything outside parentheses, you'll need to go ahead and distribute. You can see that you'll have that in the last problem. Also, look at the next one here. I've got 7x plus 27 divided by 3. I'm going to need to combine like terms, and so I'm going to have to do that 27 divided by 3 first. What is 27 divided by 3? Close.
Oh. 9.
9. Good. So now I've got 7x plus 9 equals 8x plus 13. And then you would solve for x. Okay? So pay attention at what the problem is telling you. Go through step by step to solve for x. All righty. Lesson 41, multiplying mixed numbers. And it says to multiply mixed numbers, follow these steps. Convert each mixed number to an improper fraction. Multiply the improper fractions, reduce if possible, convert to a mixed number. Okay? So in this problem, they started out with 3 1/5 times 5 1/2. So the first thing they did was go to improper fractions, and 5 times 3 is 15, and 15 plus 1 is 16. Keep my denominator. 10 plus 1 is 11. Keep my denominator of 4. All right. So now remember, one of the best things about multiplying and dividing fractions is I do not have to worry about common denominators. But one of the things that we did talk about is I can simplify or I can reduce before I multiply. I can look to see, is there anything in my numerator that can cancel with anything in my denominator? So I can start with my 16 and say, can I cancel 16 with 5 or 4? And which can those be canceled with? 4. I know that I can divide both of them by 4. So 16 divided by 4 is 4. And 4 divided by 4 is 1. So now it's going to be a whole lot easier to multiply 4 times 11 versus 16 times 11. So that's the benefit below us that we have got 4 times 11 over 5 times 1. So we end up with 44 over 5. And then you divide 44 by 5. 5 will go into 44 8 times with 4 remaining. So you end up with 4 4/5. Okay. So let's go ahead and look at our classwork and practice this. So what is the first thing I need to do? What is Good, convert to improper fractions. So I'm going to go ahead and I've got 2 times 2 is 4 and 4 plus 1 is 5. And my screen, of course, went out. Hang on, it's getting ready to go. So we'll just keep going until it gives me a chance to boot it back up. Okay, so we've changed that. So that's going to become 5 over 2 times 3 times 3 is 9, and 9 plus 1 is 10. So now I have 10 over 3. Let's see if I can get it back up. Come on. As soon as it gets connected back up, we'll, oh, here it comes. Share my screen. There we go. Okay, so 2.5 became 5 over 2. 3 1/3 became 10 over 3. So again, I look to see what can I simplify here before I multiply. What do numbers be reduced? 2 and 10. Okay, both divisible by 2. 10 divided by 2 is 5. 2 divided by 2 is 1. So now I multiply 5 times 5 is 25. 1 times 3 is 3. Now I'm going to simplify 25 divided by 3. How many times will 3 go into 25?
8 times.
8 times. And 8 times 3 is 24. So 25 minus 24 is 1. Keep my denominator of 3. So 8 1/3. Look at the next one. This is my first step. Convert to improper fractions. So 5 times 4 is 20. 20 plus 2 is 22. Keep my denominator of 5. Times 4 times 3 is 12, and 12 plus 3 is 15 over 4. All right, what can we put here?
15 and 5.
Okay, 15 and 5, what are they both divisible by? 5. 15 divided by 5 . 22 divided by 2 is 11. 4 divided by 2 is 2. So I was actually able to cancel every single one of those. And 11 times 3 is 33. 1 times 2 is 2. So now I have 33 over 2. So now, what is half of 33? I don't know, but we'll have, because 33 is an odd number, what would be half of 2? What's half of 30? 15, so half of 32 is 16. Good. So 2 will go into 33 16 times, and we said 2 times 16 is 32. So that leaves a remainder of 1. So I've got 16. Now again, if you need to do 2 into 33, 2 will go into 3 one time. That's going to give me 13. 2 will go into 13 6 times. 6 times 2 is 12, and my remainder is 1. So 16 became my whole number. My remainder became my new numerator, and I kept my denominator. All right, 1 3/7 times 2 5/8. 7 times 1 is 7, and 7 plus 3 is 10. So I have 10 over 7 times 8 times 2 is 16, and 16 plus 5 is 21 over 8. What can I simplify here? 7 and 21, what are they both divisible by?
7.
7. They're both divisible by 7. 21 divided by 7 is 3, and 7 divided by 7 is 1. What about 10 and 8?
2.
They're both divisible by 2. 10 divided by 2 is 5. 8 divided by 2 is 4. So now I have 5 times 3 is 15, and 1 times 4 is 4. So 15 over 4. 4 will go into 15 how many times? 3 times. 3 times 4 is 12. So 15 minus 12 is 3. Keep my denominator of 4. And the last one, 5 1/7 times 2 1/4. 7 times 5 is 35, plus 1 is 36. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 1 is 9. What can be simplified? 36 and 4. What are they both divisible by?
2.
They are. Are they divisible by something else other than 2?
Yes.
What? What times what is 36? 6 times 6 is 36. What else? What are my other factors of 36?
4.
4 times what?
8, right? But no,
No.
it's not.
4 times 9. 9 times 4 is also 36. So they're both divisible by 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1, and 36 divided by 4 is 9. So now I have 9 times 9 is 81 over 7. So I'll do 7 into 81. 7 will go into 8 one time. That's going to give me 11. 7 will go into 11 one time. 1 times 7 is 7, and 11 minus 7 is 4. So my whole number is 11. My remainder becomes my numerator, and I keep my denominator. Any questions about this process? Okay, I want you guys to do the left-hand side right now, and then the right-hand side will become homework. So we're going to work on this left-hand side, and then I've got a handout for you. And Hunter, I think your mom said she had already printed yours out for you. So you'll have that, and we'll look at that in just a minute. We're working on the left-hand side, though. If you have questions, let me know, and I'll be happy to come help you. Change this to an upper fraction. How do I do that? Okay, put it 2 times 4. Times 2. And that is like plus 1. Okay, now what is my denominator? It's going to stay 4. Okay, so I have 9 over 4. Okay, now this is going to be a times sign. Okay, and if I change this one, 3 times 3 is what? Okay, and this is 2 is 1 plus 2. You know, 3 times 3 is 9. Now I have to do 9 plus 2. So now, everything is D. You can do one of 2 things. We can go ahead and multiply, so 9 times 11 and 4 times 30, or we can see what can be canceled. Okay? That means I'm looking at my numbers in the top to see what can be divided by that the same as something in the bottom that can be divided. Is there anything that I could cancel with 9? Good. Okay, so we can divide both of them by. What did you divide by? What did you divide in 9 by? 9's not even, so I'm going to divide by 2. There you go. Because 9 divided by 3 is 3, and 3 divided by 3 is what? 1. Good. So now I have 3 times 11. Good. And 4 times 1. Good. So now we need to simplify this. How am I going to make this into a mixed number?
How many times will 4 go into 33? If you're not sure, you can write that as a division problem and just put 4 into 33. Maybe in the division house. No, we're dividing. So we're doing 33 divided by 4. So we've got 4 into 33. Okay, when I'm dividing, I look and I start and I say, well, 4 go into 3, and it won't. Okay, so now 4 into 33. So what times 4? 4 times what gets me close to 33 without going over? So if you think about 4 times 1 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 3 is 24, I'm sorry, times 0 is 12, 4 times 4 is 16, 4 times 5 is 20, 4 times 6 is 24, 4 times 7 is 28, 4 times 8 is 32, 4 times 9 is 36. So I know 4 times 8 is 32, that's as close as I can get. Now when I do that, since I divided into 33, I have to put my 8 over that second 3. Now 8 times 4 is 32, and I subtract. 33 minus 32 is 1, okay? So now when we're doing our mixed number, I'm going to write that as 8 is my whole number. My remainder was 1, that becomes my numerator. My 4 was my denominator, that's what I keep. Okay, so 33 over 4 equals 8 and 1/4. Are you good with how I did that? Do you see how I did that? Okay. Let's look at your next one. Okay, let's go ahead and convert those to mixed numbers. So we have 3 and 4/7 times 4 and 1/5. Okay, so the first thing we do is multiply. 7 times 3 is 21. So I have 21 plus 4 is going to give me 25. That's my numerator. Keep my denominator of 7. Okay, and then that. Okay, times. Okay, 5 times 4 is what? 20. And 20 plus that 1 is going to be 21 over 5. Good, keep my denominator. Now I have 25 over 7 times 21 over 5. What of these can I cancel? 25 and 5, what are they both divisible by? Good. 25 divided by 5 is 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1. What about 7 and 21? Can I cancel those? What times what is 21? 7 times 2, right? Okay. So 21 divided by 7 is 3. 7 divided by 7 is 1. So now I have 5 times 3 is 15 over 1 times 1 is 1. And 15 over 1 equals 15. Okay. Are you good with continuing work or you need some more help? Okay. More views? Okay. Look at anything?
Did you only that phone?
I'm sorry?
Outward.
Okay, so let's look at that. So you said 9 times 4 is 36, plus 2 is 38. Take your denominator of 9. 4 times 3 is 12, and 12 plus 3 is 15. Take your denominator of 4. Then you canceled. All right, so what did you say? What did you divide between 38 and 4?
9.
9. Okay. If you said 4 divided by 4 is 1, 38 divided by 4, what is 4 times 9?
36.
36. So those won't cancel by 4.
Okay.
But what could they divide by?
9.
I can't divide 4 by 9. I've got a 4 and a 38.
2.
2.
Okay.
So 4 divided by 2 is 2. And what's 38 divided by 2?
16. Oh no.
How many times will 2 go into 18?
9 times.
9 times. Good, so it's 19. Okay, so 38 becomes 19. Okay. And then you divided both of these by 3. Good. And so now you've got 19 times 5 and 3 times 2. Check that. You doing okay, Hunter? Need any help with anything? Okay, let me know if you need help.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start working these on the left-hand side. So if you get stuck and you're not sure what to do, you can look up at my examples, and then also you can check your work as you complete it.
Wait, Miss Jennifer.
Uh-huh.
On the one that you just did, it's not 45, it's 95, because 19 times 5 is 95.
It sure is, isn't it? Thank you. I don't know why I wrote a 4, because I mean, I think I just did the 9 times 5 and I wrote 45 instead of doing the, like, carrying it. Thank you. So let's fix that. All right, so let's go ahead and check these. Look at yours, see what you got. If you missed it, go back and mark it so you can make corrections when you do your homework tonight. So the first one, you should have ended up with 8 1/4. The next one is 15. Underneath that is also 15. Then 12. Then 16 1/3. 15 5/6. 34 7/8. 11 1/3. Any of those that you missed and you'd like me to explain it? Remember, you've just got to follow the steps. First, convert to improper fractions. Then, after you've done that, look to see what can be canceled. Canceling will simplify it, so when you multiply, you don't have as big of numbers. But look at, on the second from the last, there was nothing we could cancel there, so we ended up with a big number when we multiplied 31 times 9. So sometimes there's nothing I can cancel and there's nothing I can do to simplify, and I just have to simplify at this step when I change it from an improper fraction to a mixed number, okay? So your next part of homework will be that right-hand column. And I think, let's do activities 5. Okay, so let's look at all of our homework, and then I'm going to have another thing that we're going to look at. So let's see, our first thing is going to be page 86. We've got the rest of activities 3. And then we have activities 4. So page 86, finish activities 3, and then we have activities 4. Then on page, I think we jumped from 86 over to lesson 41, which is on page what? 91. So this is page 91. So page 91, we're going to have finish activities 2. And then on page 92, we've got activities 5. Okay. All right. And then we're going to go ahead and I'm going to hand out. This is going to be our unit notes to get ready. We don't quite have a test just yet, but getting ready to think about it. This is going to be just some practice work that we can go through. Okay. Now, this won't be due until next week, but if you want to get started on it, you can. Let's go ahead and take a look at it. Let's see, we've got about 10 more minutes before class is out. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. Notice that I've broken it into each lesson. So in your textbook, go ahead and open up to lesson 32. Now I'm going to back up on my screen to lesson 32. All right, so lesson 32 is where we started talking about equivalent fractions, and we talked about how equivalent fractions, so it says, look at number 1, it says fractions that have different numerators and denominators but are equal in value are called what? Equivalent fractions. So number 1 is equivalent fractions. They have different numerators and denominators, but they're equal in value. So like we talked about, 1/2 is equal to 4/8, or 3/6 is equal to 1/2. Okay, 1/3 is equal to 6/18. Okay, so even though they're different numerators and denominators, they're still equal in value. All right, look at number 2. To find the equivalent fractions, you must blank the numerator and denominator by the same number. Multiply, good. So when I'm trying to find an equivalent fraction, I need to multiply both my numerator and denominator by the same number. So you can fill in that blank. Multiply. Now notice underneath that it says write 3 equivalent fractions for 1/2. Go ahead and think of 3 equivalent fractions for 1/2. Remember, whatever you multiply the numerator by, you multiply the denominator by. So if you said, hey, I want to multiply it by 2. So you end up with 2/4. Okay, so just come up with 3 different equivalent fractions for 1/2. Then once you've done that, go ahead and turn to lesson 33. Lesson 33 was our fraction decimal conversions. And so remember, if you look at number 3, it says to convert a fraction to a decimal, divide the blank by the blank. Very good. So at the very top of the page, it says to convert a fraction to a decimal, divide the numerator by the denominator. And then it says to convert a decimal to a fraction, write the numeric portion of the right, on the right of the decimal as the blank, and use the place value of the digit furthest on the right as the blank. Okay, so let's look at the middle section. It's going to be my second paragraph. It says to convert a decimal to a fraction, write the numeric portion on the right side of the decimal as the numerator. That's this. And the place value of the digit on the right as the denominator. So like in this example right here that we've got, 3/10, the 3 became my numerator. It is in the 10th place, so 10 became my denominator. Number 5 says, if a fraction converts to a repeating decimal, put a bar over the blank digits. Which digits do you put the bar over? The repeating digits. Good. And then underneath that, you will convert fractions to decimals and decimals to fractions. We won't do that right now. Let's go ahead and look at lesson 34, adding fractions. Okay, it says steps for adding fractions. Step 1, make sure you have the same denominator. Number 2 says add the blank of the fractions and keep the blank the same. What do you add? The numerators. Good. Add the numerators of the fractions and keep the denominators the same. Good. And then step 3, check to make sure the answer is in, you could say simplest form, reduced form, whichever one you want to call it. Okay. That was something that was not specifically said in the book, but I just wanted to make sure, because every time you write a fraction answer, I even had people in geometry today. So they've been through pre-algebra, algebra 1, now they're in geometry, and on their test, they got counted off because they didn't reduce a fraction. I said, every time you write a fraction, you always want to make sure it's in simplest form, okay? Simplest form just means I can divide my numerator and denominator. So basically, simplest form is the same as finding equivalent fractions, but I'm finding the equivalent fraction that is the smallest it can be, because I'm dividing the numerator and denominator by whatever number. And then I have some examples of adding fractions, okay? Go ahead and turn the page. On the back is subtracting fractions, so look at lesson 35. Step 1, make sure you have the same denominators again. Subtract the blank of the fractions and keep the blank the same. What am I going to subtract? Subtract the numerators and keep the denominators the same. Check to make sure the answer is in simplest form or reduced form, whichever one you want to call it. That is as far as we're going to go today. If you want to work the problems that we've gotten to on this packet, you can. Go ahead and put your name on it. We will pick up with this after we check our homework answers on Monday when we go back virtual, but then we're going to start out with this on Monday. So make sure to put it in a safe place so you've got it, and we'll pick back up with it. So we'll work through this, and then our next section is dividing mixed numbers. We're going to do it just like we did multiplying mixed numbers, but we change to improper fractions, and then we do keep, change, flip. Okay, just like we've done. So that's where we will pick up on Monday. So you have those few pages in your textbook for homework, and then we'll pick back up with the packet on Monday. Any questions before we get ready and go? All right, well, I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend. If you have any questions as you're working on it, be sure to let me know. If you need to take a picture and text me and say, what do I do now? Happy to do that. I also want to let y'all know that during lunchtime, I'm in here. So if there's ever a time that y'all need help and you have questions, come see me during lunch. We can have lunch together and do our math work. Okay, so I'm always here to help during lunchtime if you ever need me, or if we need to set up an extra Zoom time, just whatever y'all need to do. Please don't hesitate to let me know if you're not sure about something and you need extra help. Okay. Well, all righty. Well, I hope y'all have a great afternoon. Hunter, I hope you have a great weekend. Be sure to let me know if you need help, okay? All right. I'll see you Monday.